Hey everybody, this is Jason out in Colorado. Today I'm going to talk to you about Fatwood. Sorry, dog's trying to get in my face. It's getting late in the year, it's pretty cold, so staying warm is on my mind. So Fatwood, what is Fatwood? First of all, Fatwood is only found in pine, so you have to be in a pine forest, pine and spruce. But Fatwood is parts of the tree that are impregnated with the resin, the sap, the turpine. Turpine is a natural form of turpentine. It's impregnated in the wood of the pine trees, and it's highly flammable. So when a tree dies, all the sap and the resin flows down into the base of that tree, and it I guess preserves and almost petrifies that wood. It keeps the wood from rotting, and it's kind of waterproof, so it repels any water that might land on it. So this time of year, when it's cold, possibly snow on the ground, or even earlier in the year, spring, foggy days or whatever, when everything else is wet, if you can find Fatwood, you can typically get a fire started. Fatwood isn't always easy to find though. First off, you got to find a dead tree, a dead pine tree, probably one that's not been cut down by man, something that's died naturally and it's stayed standing up and rotted, I guess, and then eventually fallen down, either got blown over by the wind or it just got so old that it fell on its own. But you see right here behind me, we do have a pine tree that has fallen. Now at elevation here in Colorado, colder climates, finding a tree like this on the ground doesn't always necessarily mean you're going to find Fatwood in it. A lot of different climates, where right here you see that little branch sticking up, sometimes you can find Fatwood in a little short section of where that branch meets the main trunk. So right here, this little section right here, this branch where it hits on that main trunk, you might be able to find a little bit of Fatwood in there. So what you can do is you can chop this off, you can cut it off, you can break it off, whatever, and that piece of wood is going to smell a lot like turpentine. It's going to smell like pine tree. It's going to be really strong. Really strong, really pungent. And if that's the case, then that little piece has got Fatwood. My experience up here at this elevation, this climate, is you're not going to get very much Fatwood out of this. You're going to maybe get a little tiny portion of it. So what I do out here is right here, you see right here, this is a larger pine tree. This one's been really rotted. It's so rotten that that piece of the trunk is the only thing that's still left. The rest of it's totally deteriorated, which is odd. Why is that still there and the rest of the tree is gone? Because that wood has been preserved by the turpentine, the resin that's in that. So I'm willing to bet I'm going to use my axe, and I'm going to tear apart that tree trunk, or the base of that trunk, and I'm willing to bet I'm going to find Fatwood in there. It may not be the case. I may not get lucky this time, but I've probably, in this little area right here, I've pulled apart 5 trunks that looked similar to that, and every single one has had Fatwood in the center of it. So I'm going to get to work on this. I'm going to dig this up. Well, let me show you here. As you can see, this breaks apart in my hand. This is all really rotten. There's not much to it. We got the outer bark of the tree that just falls right off, and we just got rotted, dirty, nasty, crumble what's left of wood. But once I get to the core of this, down in the center, probably I'm going to have to dig a little ways down. Once I get down in there, there's a good chance I'm going to find a good amount of Fatwood. So again, I'm going to get working on this, and then when I get down to some, I'll show you what it looks like. Okay, you see this right here? This is not Fatwood, just a chunk of rotten wood. We're going to keep going down in the center of this, and hopefully we'll find some. All right, looks like I'm not gonna find any in this one. Of course I'm not, because I'm filming, but I'm just gonna move on to the next tree and see what I can find there. All right, I found another tree trunk, or a tree stump. Worked down a little ways on it, and I did find some fatwood on this one. You can see here, well, I'll show you the ground all around me is this crumbly stuff, the rotted wood, and break this apart with my hands. That was all on the outside. Good tasting stuff. But this stuff smells like earth, must, mold, dirt, nothing. This fatwood right here, as you can see, it was at the core of this stump. This is the very center. You see that? That's nice and solid. It's not gonna break. I don't know if you can see that color, but it's a nice, rich, almost caramel color. That's fatwood right there. You smell it. It smells like turpentine, really piney smell. This stuff is highly flammable, and it's rock hard. You're gonna need to chop that out with whatever you got, your axe, knife, a digging stick. What you're gonna do is you're gonna keep that stuff. If you wanna start a fire, you use this fatwood to get your fire going. If you get it into really small shavings, you may be able to, sorry I blocked the sun for you. Really small shavings, you may be able to just get your ferro rod to catch that on a spark. Otherwise, you would start your cotton ball or your grass or whatever you've got to start a fire, or even with a lighter, and you take those shavings off of this piece of wood and you ignite it. And all the turpentine that's in it prolongs your fire. So if you're having difficulties keeping a fire going, or you need it to stay burning longer to get larger, wetter wood going, this is what you're going to use. So I'm going to go ahead and chop bits of this out, and I'll show you what it looks like once we unearth it completely. Okay, back at camp, I unearthed that whole core of that fatwood. You can see I was able to pull it out all the way from the roots, and you saw how crumbly and rotten that other stuff was. It was breaking apart my hands and just falling apart with that tomahawk. But this stuff is solid. It's rock hard. What I'm going to do is I'm going to take my knife and I'm going to shave off all the rest of this rotten stuff that comes off easily with my hands. I'm going to clean all that up. If you can see it right there, that's down to some real good fatwood. And I wish you could smell this. I wish I could do a scratch and sniff on the computer monitor, but that stuff smells like turpentine, really piney smell, whereas this out here, until it cleans up, just smells like rotted wood. So I'm going to go ahead and clean up this a little bit, and then you'll see what it looks like once I'm done. Okay guys, here's this piece of fatwood. I've carved a little bit off. You can see there's this white color here. That's kind of the standard color of pine. And then I shaved off that white to get to the underlayer, and you see that nice rich caramel color. That's what fatwood looks like, and it smells really good. So if you're out in the woods and you find an old dead tree and you need help getting a fire going, dig out that stump and see if you can find this hard core near the base, and this should help you get a fire going. Again, you can find it on dead branches on a tree, but out here, this elevation, this climate, this stuff right here is really what I'm looking for. So I'm gonna go ahead and kind of shave some of this stuff off and see if I can't get a fire going here. Right here, you can see some really good stuff. See the color difference. But it's a nice, good, big chunk of fatwood. This piece of wood is actually pretty heavy for its size and for how rotted the rest of the tree was. It was pretty much gone. But here's some fatwood. I'm gonna get some stuff off of it real quick and see if we can't get a fire going. All right, so I got my little pile of fatwood here. I got some really fine curls. Got my ferro rod and my knife. I'm gonna see if I can get this to take a spark and get a fire going. All right, so there we go. We got a little fire going. The Fatwood has got that resin in it, so it's going to prolong your fire a little bit. You can see it's pretty flammable. I can now add other bits to it, other bits of wood. And get a bigger chunk off of this big piece. So you can just add more Fatwood to it. You can add other kindling to it, other sticks, other twigs, whatever, to get your fire going. When you get it going, you'll see that the resin will be bubbling up out of it. That's just that turpine coming out. It typically produces a bit more black smoke than normal wood. That's just a chemical burning, that natural chemical process burning. But there's some Fatwood. If you're having difficulties getting the fire going or maintaining going, just get something like that and it'll help you out. And it will burn a little bit longer than a normal piece of wood. So that's it. Keep an eye out for the stuff out in the woods. Add it to your kit. Great stuff to have. Hopefully you learned something. Enjoy the video. I'll see you next time. Thanks for joining us.